Hi everybody, Patrick here with a quick video about how to cite your sources out loud, followed by a quick explanation of note cards and how to structure those. So first, how to cite your sources. Before I move on, everything that is in this video is in a handout in D2L, which I highly recommend you take a look at. The first thing about citing sources is that you will always say the name of the source. The name of the source is a book, a magazine, organization, or the person interviewed. The name of the book, if it's title of the book, the title of the magazine, if it was Time Magazine or Entertainment Weekly, if it was a newspaper, Washington Post or New York Times, the name of the organization, the American Civil Liberties Union, for example, or the person interviewed. If you interviewed Colin Powell, you would say the name of that source. You do not say the name of the author of an article, the name of the author of the book, the name of the article title if it's an article within a magazine or a newspaper. You don't say article names or author names. You always say the date the source was published. That's the month, the day, the year, unless it's a monthly or quarterly publication. And that's the date the source was published, not copyrighted, which is why it's really important to make sure you have sources that have dates on them. Now, if for some reason you find yourself having to use a source that doesn't have a month, day, and year, you are able to cite it, but you'll say the word accessed, and you'll say the date you looked at the information. So if you found a website that had no date on it, you would say the date you looked at the information, say July 30th, 2015, and you would say the word accessed. The word accessed is a trigger word for the audience to know that it's not the date it was published. If it's quarterly or monthly publication, you would say the month of the year, the season of the year, whatever that might be. Sometimes you might give credibility. Credibility is given if it's not obvious what the credibility of that source is. So if it's a book, you probably want to tell us what that book is about. If it's a magazine or newspaper that is not obvious by its name, like the New York Times is pretty obvious, Washington Post is pretty obvious, but if it's something small like the Barry Montpelier Times Argus, you would need to explain what that is. And the person interviewed, unless it's a famous person, you would need to tell us who that person is. If it's a website, you probably also want to do the same thing. Again, as I said earlier, you'll never say the authors of articles or titles of articles or URLs. You won't say web addresses. So you won't say NewYorkTimes.com. You would say the New York Times website. Citations should be given every time you say something that you found somewhere else. That's just basic rule of citation. Make sure you're always saying a citation. For your outline, you'll follow PBA style, Patrick Barton's awesome style that I've described in the handout in D2L, and APA style for your works cited page. If you were to use MLA, it's not the end of the world. You will lose one or two formatting points, but it's not considered plagiarism. It's just considered a formatting error. But I do want some kind of citation, works cited page in order to be able to look up your sources myself. So we've talked about citing sources. Now let's move on to your final set of note cards. So chances are the first set of note cards you make will be rough note cards, meaning you have a lot of words on them. You have everything you need in order to learn your speech. Once you learn your speech, you don't need all those words anymore. So you're going to make a final set of note cards. The final set of note cards should be on 4 by 6 inch cards. Make sure you have those if you don't already. On the grading sheet for your speech, there's a content word count. Make sure you follow that content word count. Content words are not structure words. So if you have the word AGD or thesis, that actual word thesis on your note card, that would not count against your content words. Also, delivery words don't count. So if you had the word smile or eye contact, that would not count either. And also, dates and names of sources do not count. So you have New York Times 10/18/2012. That would not count against you either. Statistics and facts from sources do count. So you have a source, New York Times, 10/18/12, and then you have 5 million people died from cancer. So 5 million people died from cancer. That's 6 words. If you had those 6 words, those would be 6 content words. New York Times 10/18/12 would not count as words. Generally, you probably want to avoid full sentences other than your thesis, and the reason for that is to, first of all, not use too many words, but also just to make yourself sound more extemporaneous. Your thesis may be your main points, maybe your width might be full sentences, but everything else should be pretty extemporaneous, pretty conversational. Now, I will be checking your note cards before you get up to speak to make sure there's not too many words, to make sure you're using the right kinds of note cards and all that. So please do make sure you're using everything properly there. One other last thing that I forgot to mention earlier is when you are citing dates, make sure you say the full year, 2012. If I was doing this one, October 18th, 2012, out loud. On the outline or on the note card, I might have 10/18/12, but I'm going to say the whole date, October 18th, 2012. You won't ever abbreviate it with just numbers. That's just not proper speaking. And that is all for this video. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, of course, you can always ask. Let me know. Have a great day.